Well now, who do we have here?
Hello and welcome to another devlog. My name's Layla and together with my husband Jim, we're working on an open world indie game called The Third Tourist. We've had a really productive week, so I've got lots to share with you. Let's get to it. Jim spent some time working on the water and he actually got a fair bit more performance out of it. You can see that it doesn't draw so far, but I don't think it takes anything away from the effect. Jim also did some work continuing the breakwater around the coast here. I think it looks fab. That performance boost gave us a huge performance on the Steam Deck, and once we turned on FSR upsampling, we clocked over 50 frames per second. We are so pleased with this. Another area that Jim worked on was the teleportation. Now when the player teleports, we have this black screen obfuscating all of the ECS chunks being loaded and all of the shadow maps being created, so it makes it a lot more streamlined. I think this is a really nice player perception improvement. As promised, I've got an update on the diegetic menu I've been working on. Let's have a look at what we had before. We had several different menus. We had this one for the inventory, and then we had a mobile phone one. We had then the original diegetic journal. We decided to consolidate all of these into one diegetic journal. When you first start the game, you don't have the journal, so we just have the tasks in the top left-hand corner. When you pick up a note, they're just displayed in a world space sheet of paper. And then when you eventually pick up the red journal from the kitchen, you have the full journal, but not all of the tabs. So here you can see we've picked up the research. It's a newspaper, so we can read that in the newspaper tab. And once it's researched, it's available in the research tab. And we also have, in this case, the demon hunt tab. And you can see we've got a case file here, which is where you start to explore who is possessed by a demon lieutenant. Also, we had a viewer question about the settings menu. So here it is. None of the styling is locked in place yet. We're just trying to get the functionality in place. So as you can see here in the settings menu, we have all the things one would expect, including resolution changes, upsampling, global illumination, everything that you could want to turn on and off is all in the settings menu. Once I finished all the menus, I needed a bit of a change of pace, so I switched over to do some Blender. Now, I don't really enjoy 3D modeling, nor am I very good at it, probably shows, but I try. So this time I needed to tidy up the mouth on this character because I wanted to have a go at Visemes or Visemes, however one says it, and that is the way that we can simulate lip syncing on our characters. So I went through all of this, modeling all the shapes using something called a blend shape for all the A and E and O and those kinds of shapes that your mouth makes when you say those sounds. I decided to add some teeth because I thought he'd look less disturbing if he had some teeth. And then I got it into Unity and this is the finished result.
Well now, who do we have here?
And I have to say, I am quite pleased with this. Another thing that Jim was working on is the building volumes and tidying up the village on the island. Now these are actually quite complicated. We use lots of layers. We have interior volumes that signal when a player is inside the structure. We can use this to do tricks to contract the rendering distance when inside a building to boost performance. That's because ECS, as far as we are aware, doesn't support occlusion culling. So this is a kind of hacky way to make things more performant. We also have local fog volumes. This stops fog appearing inside the building. We have a manager that controls this. It turns them on and off as needed. We also have navmesh modifiers that stops our NPCs standing on the furniture like hooligans. And we also have the APV, Adaptive Probe Volume modifiers. We'll talk about that more in another video. This is where we laboriously wrap the entire building in these modifier volumes, especially if the walls are quite thin. Otherwise, we get light leaking when we bake the probe volumes, which is a very undesirable effect. The last thing I've got to share is that we have been, or I should say Jim has been tweaking the portal material. So we have a choice. We have this watery, gloopy looking one, or we have this plasma electrical looking one. Why don't you let us know in the comments which one's your favorite? I'm erring on the watery one. That's it for this devlog. If you can wishlist the third tourist on Steam, we'd greatly appreciate it. And like and subscribe and all that stuff. And it's a goodbye from me, Cookie, and Summer. We'll see you in the next one.